President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi held a bilateral session of talks with President of the Republic of South Sudan, Salva Kiir, upon his arrival to South Sudan. The talks were followed by an expanded meeting joined by the two countries' delegations. President Kiir welcomed President el-Sisi on his visit to Juba, describing it as historic and the first of its kind since South Sudan's independence. South Sudan's president expressed his country's appreciation for its firm cooperation relations with Egypt, which demonstrate the human and cultural heritage connecting the two countries. He lauded Egypt's genuine efforts to contribute to achieving peace and stability in South Sudan and to provide it with all means of support and humanitarian assistance. President Kiir underlined the broad prospect for promoting cooperation between Egypt and South Sudan in an array of fields, notably at the economic level. He praised the activities of Egyptian companies operating in Juba, as well as their contributions to developmental efforts. The President of South Sudan confirmed that his country looks forward to boosting the activities of the Egyptian private sector in South Sudan, stressing its commitment to providing all facilities and a conducive environment towards this end. The South Sudanese president voiced appreciation for Egypt's technical support, capacity-building programs and training over the past years for the cadres in South Sudan in various civilian and military fields. He said this reflected the profound relations between the two countries. For his part, President el-Sisi expressed pleasure for visiting South Sudan for the first time, noting that the visit comes as a continuation for the outstanding relations that bind the two countries at the popular and official levels, as the two countries shared fate and common destiny. The president also affirmed that the visit comes to further boost bilateral cooperation at all levels. President el-Sisi reiterated Egypt's keenness on transferring Egyptian expertise and providing technical support and capacity-building programs in various sectors to South Sudan. This is in addition to fostering closer bilateral cooperation and enhancing Egyptian support to developmental efforts in South Sudan, particularly with the broad prospects of advancing economic and trade relations, as well as cooperation in agriculture, irrigation, infrastructure, and energy areas. The meeting tackled frameworks of joint cooperation between Egypt and South Sudan. The two sides expressed relief at the level of cooperation and ongoing coordination, which comes for the benefit of the two countries and their peoples. They also confirmed the need to capitalize on and leverage all available opportunities and increase the exchanges of visits between the two countries' senior officials. As to the situation in South Sudan, President Kiir reviewed developments in the implementation of the country's peace agreement. The South Sudanese president valued Egypt's movements in this regard in the various international and regional fora in order to give a better understanding of the nature of challenges facing South Sudan, to confirm the need to support its stability and national reconciliation, and to urge the international community to live up to its pledges and commitments towards South Sudan. President el-Sisi reiterated Egypt's full and unlimited support for the South Sudanese government efforts to achieve peace and stability in the country as an extension to Egypt's national security. The president underscored the need to build on the current momentum in South Sudan's political scene and the presence of the necessary will by all parties so as to continue the implementation of the peace agreement. President el-Sisi and President Kiir discussed the most important dossiers on the regional scene, particularly the Nile Basin and the Horn of Africa regions. The discussions reflected a mutual understanding with regard to the ways to address these issues to ensure enhancing African ability to address the challenges facing the continent. The two presidents agreed on the need to increase holding periodic meetings between senior officials from the two countries for intensive coordination on the current developments in the two countries' geographic milieu. President el-Sisi lauded President Kiir's efforts in the mediation between the government of the Republic of Sudan and revolutionary factions, noting that these efforts culminated successfully with the signing of the Juba peace agreement between the parties last October. President el-Sisi and President Kiir also tackled the Nile water issue and the latest developments regarding to the Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Both leaders agreed and stressed the importance of reaching a legal, binding, and balanced agreement on the filling process and operation of the Renaissance Dam, while promoting cooperation among the Nile Basin countries so as to achieve the common interests of the peoples of all Nile Basin countries and avoid harming any party.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate, and that was a report about the visit made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to South Sudan. In the past week, the presidential activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, we are shedding light on them during the course of the episode. We started with the visit made by the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, and right now in the second segment of the Daily Debate, we'll be shedding more light on the historic visit made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to South Sudan and his meeting with the South Sudanese counterpart Salva Kiir. And I'm honored to be having with me over the phone straight away Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, the former Assistant Foreign Minister. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
My pleasure, Ahmed.
Mr. Ambassador, we'll be starting with what we spoke about in the first segment of the episode, the visit made by the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and the meeting held between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Palestinian President at the Ittihadiyya Palace. How do you see the timing of such a visit, especially with a new administration coming in at the United States?
Well, Ahmed, allow me at the outset to extend my greetings to your honorable guest, Ambassador Nabil El Orabi, one of Egypt's most distinguished ambassadors. Having said that, let me answer your very important and pertaining question. The meeting with President Mahmoud Abbas with President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi came on a very important time where the Palestinian cause has endured many hurdles and pressures from the region and from the international arena, particularly from the American administration. As a matter of fact, the Palestinian needs more of diplomatic and political support than ever. And I think no place to regain trust in the future of this cause, but in Cairo, where Egypt has always been a supportive party to the Palestinian cause. So the visit, I can see it in a very crucial moment where we need to stand beside the President and the Palestinian people in their quest for their legitimate rights and homeland. And of course, as you said, a new administration, President-elect Biden, is about to reach the White House in January, and a new era of relations we hope will dominate the scenes in the Middle East and in the world stage, where we all have to work together to bring in the parties to a meaningful, time-limited peace negotiation where we can see an end to this injustice and to this conflict that has vexed the relations over the years in the Middle East.
Yes, Mr. Ambassador, why do you think that the Palestinian cause is always a top priority for Egypt?
Of course, Egypt knows very well that the core issue to stability is the Palestinian cause. And without stability, whatever we are doing all in the Middle East will not really gain fruits unless we settle disputes, particularly in the Palestinian front. Of course, Libya is so important, and Egypt has played an important and instrumental role to bring in or to open up gates for political solution and stability. Same in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, name it. The Middle East is in turmoil, and the core issue that requires a lot of attention is the Palestinian cause. So President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi knows very well that there is no stability can be attained in the Middle East unless we solve the Palestinian problem. And if we succeed in putting the Palestinian cause on track, then the whole Middle East will be open for talks, for reconstruction, and for meaningful peace that will bring the people to live together for a better future.
And speaking of the Arab world, do you think that the developments that were made in the Arab world in the past year or two in favor of the Palestinian cause or not?
Well, I don't think that the Palestinian cause can be omitted in any agendas in the Arab world, being it regional or international. The Palestinian cause should be always there. And I don't think that the Arab world can move further in their communication with Israel, or Israel can gain grounds unless it gives up with the Palestinian cause. People has to live together, and a solution should be promoted by the international community. And I think with the new administration, Arab diplomacy should exert some pressure and efforts.
Yes, and before the visit made by the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to Egypt, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had made a visit to Juba and to South Sudan on Saturday at the beginning of the week. How do you see the importance of such a visit and the timing of it as well, a historic visit?
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi described relations with Southern Sudan as strategic and instrumental to Egypt's national and strategic security. And I think Southern Sudan is a partner, not only as geographical and historical partner to Egypt being part of Sudan, but it was always been Egypt a supportive nation to Southern Sudan since independence in 2011. Egypt has promoted the peace between the two parties after the independence. Egypt has supplied a lot of support to Southern Sudan, being it in the electrical roadways as well as hospital rehabilitation in the irrigation or waterfront. Egypt also have trained cadres, and always the education is a common denominator between Egypt and Southern Sudan, where many cadres from Southern Sudan have studied in Egyptian university, and now we can see that even Alexandria University is opening a branch in Southern Sudan. Southern Sudan, to me, Ahmed, has many keys and answers to the water crisis in the region. Of course, the Renaissance Dam predominated the discussion in Eastern Africa and the region in general. And of course, to reach a conclusion to this very complicated issue, Southern Sudan, with the conservation policies on water in this region, and with coordinating the water flow from Southern Sudan to Egypt, particularly in the west region of the marshes of the Sad region, we can re-establish the Jonglei Canal project, where we can conserve for Egypt and Sudan, I think, 6 billion in the first stage. And of course, if we followed the same, even in the marshes in Ethiopia and in the Great Lake region, we can observe many wasted water that will allow the countries to look into their negotiation with much ease and think about their future projects with much more tranquility. And I'm always confident that regional cooperation and regional security regarding water issue will prevail over the limited and narrow national perception to water issues. And I'm sure that the visit to Southern Sudan is a very important and fundamental step towards regional cooperation.
So in your opinion, Egypt and South Sudan are on the same wavelength in terms of the visions of mutual interest and the existing challenges in Africa?
Absolutely. I mean, we need, when I said regional cooperation, we need to bring Africa to silence its guns. We need to bring meaningful cooperation. We need to build multilateral multilateralism, interrelations, and a win-win solutions where Southern Sudan, for example, can find a lot from political support, as we always been supportive to the national dialogue in Southern Sudan, or in the developmental efforts where we've been always with Southern Sudan since the inception of their independence. And before that, as you know, the proverb in Southern Sudan for any mother that she always pray for her son to study in Egypt. That's why half of the cabinet in Southern Sudan are Egyptian university graduates. So I wanted to say that the only way forward to Africa is to unite, is to work together, is to silence its gun, and to, of course, rebuild the nation state. The lack of institutions in Africa cause conflicts, like what we are seeing or witnessing in many parts of East Africa or elsewhere in the continent.
Yes, and this brings us to the pledges made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi during the press conference after the meeting with the President of South Sudan, Salva Kiir. So, how do you see the pledges made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, not just on the economic level, but in exchanging expertise in education, in culture as well?
Well, with Southern Sudan and Sudan in general, we've been a reliable partner in all domains of development, in education, in training. As I said, since the independence, Egypt supplied Southern Sudan with 3 power-generating units that has helped the country through this period. And now we are designing and working with Southern Sudanese to guarantee the finance of a multi-purpose dam over the Nile that will allow Southern Sudan hydroelectric power to help the development there. But in the education, in the culture, in the health, Egypt is very supportive. As you know, with the COVID-19 epidemic, Egypt has supplied Southern Sudan with a great deal of support and procurements that is required to confront the epidemic, as well as in September or in August after the flooding of the White Nile. Egypt also supported Southern Sudan and the government in Khartoum as well, not only in Juba, yes, but also in Khartoum. An airlift have carried a lot of supplies to the victim of this flood over the month of August and September. I guess that Southern Sudan will work with Egypt towards solving the crisis in the region, and I think it has played a very important role in bringing in the government of Khartoum and the rebel forces to a dialogue in Juba that was very important and meaningful. It means that Juba and President Salva Kiir can play a very important role in pacifying the region and in helping the cooperation and the win-win approach to prevail over those who are seeking conflicts, wars, and have damaged the image of Africa worldwide.
Yes, Ambassador Mohammed Higazi, the former Assistant Foreign Minister, thank you very much for being with us on the phone on the Daily Debate. Thank you very much once again. Ambassador Nabil El Orabi speaking in the second segment of the Daily Debate about the historic visit made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi to Juba and to South Sudan. Speaking firstly about the timing as well. How do you see it?
Well, I would like to thank my dear colleague for his presentation. It was very clear.
Yes.
For the visit of President Sisi, we have not to separate Sudan with South Sudan. They are all continuation of history between Egypt and Sudanese. They are people of the same River Nile. And they are planning to have a promising future together.
Yes.
One of the most important thing happened lately is the military maneuvers between Egyptian Air Force and Sudanese Air Force. This goes for the whole area to protect our national existence, the national security. It should be going with Egypt, Sudan, and Southern Sudan. This national security is important for us because it prevents any other invader, any other country to try to interfere in this part of the world. From here comes the importance of President Sisi to Salva Kiir. We had relations with Garang, the first president of Southern Sudan.
Yes.
So we continue having this good relations with Salva Kiir. Egypt is helping with a lot of educational, agriculture, and health help to Southern Sudan, because we feel it's very important for the Valley of the Nile to come together and unify. If I am allowed to talk about a break of relations between Ethiopia and South Sudan after the visit, it has nothing to do with the visit itself. It's because of a rumor that the Michael of Ethiopia went to visit Juba, and this hurt a little bit Ethiopia. But it has nothing to do with the visit. The visit was so successful, pressing about continuation.
So what were the main topics and the agenda of talks between President Sisi and his South Sudan counterpart?
Cooperation in all fields, as I said, education, agriculture, common investments. We have a lot of Sudanese and Southern Sudanese studying in Egypt, in our institutes and universities. We welcome them. They are as Egyptians.
Yes.
We deal with them as Egyptians. So this is very promising for the future between our countries.
So is Egypt and South Sudan on the same wavelength when it comes to the mutual interests and the existing challenges in Africa?
This for sure, because we can never separate their interests in the Valley of the Nile to the Egyptian interests and Sudanese interests. We have to cooperate and come together to be one.
Yes. Speaking of the press conference that we have seen on the screen moments ago between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and his counterpart from South Sudan, Salva Kiir, and there were made pledges by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi during this press conference in different fields, not just on the economic level, but in exchanging expertise in different domains and in culture and education. How do you see those pledges and this support by Egypt to Africa in general and to South Sudan in specific?
We have opened doors for the South Sudan people. They are welcome in all kinds of fields. We help investments in Southern Sudan and vice versa. So this is the importance of the visit, that it opened a lot of doors to cooperate between Egypt and South Sudan.
Why is the stability and the security of South Sudan is important to Egypt as a strategic national depth for Egypt? And in your opinion, how has Egypt helped South Sudan since its independence or inception?
I believe that Egyptian borders, they don't stop at Aswan or Khartoum. It goes further to establish national security for Egypt, Sudan, and Southern Sudan. This is the only way to come together, understand each other, and believe that this is one interest in all of us.
Speaking of interest, why do you think South Sudan is the security and stability and the peacefulness of South Sudan is important not just to Egypt, but to Africa and more specifically to the Nile Basin countries?
Well, it's the nature of the area. We belong to East Africa, and it's important to have stability and peace in Southern Sudan. I believe they came to start this road to unify their say, military groups together, and they signed agreements to understand each other, to come in one power. Is for the sake of their country and the whole area.
The visit made by President Al-Sisi is the first by President Al-Sisi to South Sudan and the first by any Arab leader to South Sudan. How important is that?
It's natural. It's natural because, as I told you, it's a continuation of our land, our water, our Nile. This unify the interests of Southern Sudan to Egypt, and so it was natural to go to meet them in Juba.
Speaking of the future bilateral cooperation between both countries, what are the areas that you think will be boosted in the future?
I just told you that we are all open heart,
yes,
open windows and doors for the Southern Sudanese people to come, to invest, to learn in our universities. This is our common future together.
So there is a higher committee as well between Egypt and South Sudan was launched to be boosting cooperation. What is the importance of taking such a step between both countries?
This is a radical way of dealing with things, to have a common committee to discuss all kinds of interests, economical, trade, military, and all kinds of interests between both countries. And we have to encourage them to continue meetings from time to time to build a new future for us.
Yes, and finally, the main challenges, in your opinion, that are facing the Nile Basin countries and South Sudan included, and what do you think is needed from Egypt towards South Sudan in the near future now?
Well, the visit of President Sisi presents all kind of open heart, open interest to Southern Sudan, and I believe they have to take this opportunity to come to us and mix with the Egyptian people.
Yes.
We have millions of Sudanese on our land, so we welcome the South Sudanese people too to come and learn and invest in our country.
Yes, Ambassador Nabil El Orabi, the former Assistant Foreign Minister and the member of the Egyptian Council for Foreign Affairs, thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate.
Thank you.
Anytime.
Thank you.
And this brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight. Thank you for watching and goodbye.